So I've recently done a video which some of you may have watched, some of you may have not watched, just explaining how difficult it is cutting flowers and creating orders here at the moment in Devon, just because the rain and wind is just making it really hard to find good quality flowers that I'm happy to sell. And usually I sell flowers, I always sell what's the best in the garden that day. So it's always seasonal and it's always what is the healthiest and what is looking the best. And that is sort of my mantra. Usually that is a grower's choice. So what colours I think are most in season and I've grown are most suitable. But occasionally you get people with very, very specific colour choices and requests. And I'm always happy to try my hardest to fit within that brief using the flowers that I have available to me. But recently, with it being autumn, now I have a lot of autumnal colours in the garden because that's usually what you want. A lot of oranges and yellows. And this particular request was for no yellow and orange. So I found making that order a bit of a challenge. But the good news is the two orders that I have to make up now are grower's choice, and the best of what is in the garden is a lot of yellow and orange. So these two orders are going to be basically the complete opposite of what I've just made in a previous video. I will link that video in the description, but I have to warn you, the actual filming of making the bouquet is pretty amateur and quite poor. Sorry, I'm still trying to get to grips with the technology. That's not my strong point. As a lot of you know, I don't even own a mobile phone. So this whole YouTube journey is new to me, but I really enjoy making these videos for you. So for all of those of you that go to the trouble of commenting on the videos so that I can have a little chat along with you, thank you so much. Honestly, you are what keep me making these videos. It's great to know we're a little community and know what you're growing and what you're doing. So gardening and growing cut flowers in particular can be quite solitary, so having a little community here, it's great. So thank you for that. So for those of you that don't know, although I'm always harping on about it, this is a side hustle for me. I go to work like many of you, so I cut these. Here's some I cut earlier. I cut these flowers this morning in a hurry because I woke up with a really, no, you don't need to know my medical things, but I woke up with a really crook neck. It was really sore, so it really slowed me down. So actually I don't even know if I have enough flowers here. I'm just gonna start by making the smallest order, which is my classic bunch, and that's my most popular offering. And then I need to make the next size up, which is a garden posy. And if I haven't quite got enough flowers for that, then I will have to hop out into the garden and cut something else. The orders are not being delivered until tomorrow, so even though I won't have time to condition them before I put them into the bouquet, they will be able to stay in water overnight before they're delivered to their recipients tomorrow morning. Okay, so I'm hoping to do a better job of filming this today. I'm hoping that you'll actually stay in frame. The problem is for me is at the moment when I first press record, I can see myself, so I can see if I'm in frame. But then once the camera's been recording for a period of time, that screen goes black and then I can't see what's going on, and if I step out of shot I can't really tell that I've done it. I'm sure there must be a way around that. I'll do a bit of research and see. What I should really do is mark a chalk square on the floor, so that, see, that's old school again, so that I know if I'm in shot or not. Anyway, look at me rambling. Let's make these orders up. Okay, so like I mentioned, I have got a few. There's a bit of purpley and red in there, which I think I'll put into the posy. I think I'm going to go for really autumnal in the classic, and I think we will have a piece of feverfew in both. And again, I had lots of new fresh feverfew coming through, but so much of it now has gone brown in the weather. I've got a lovely branched piece of dill here. Because it's branched, it does make it a bit harder to work with. It's tempting to cut. I don't really want to cut that piece off though, because I want the bouquet to look as full as possible. I haven't got very many fillers. I've got a lot of round focal flowers, hardly any fillers. Straw flower. Don't think, now you see, I thought I'd done the wiggle test in the field for this one, but can you see that is no good for a bouquet? Okay, that is going to droop. It's far too wobbly at the head. When you pick a rudbeckia, it is the same as a zinnia. You need to do the wiggle test and make sure it's got a sturdy stem, which that one does. I don't think I've got enough dahlias. Oops. Oh. When I first started doing this, I didn't really understand the concept of what a stem is. So I would quite often always have a stem as, and sometimes it is, but as one stem with one flower. If you make a bouquet and say you put 10 flowers in, if all 10 flowers are just one flower, you can't get such a good full effect as if some of your stems, I mean this is still only really one flower because that is spent, so I will have to cut that off. But even though that's got a bud, that is then much fuller than if that were just one stem. And it took me a few years to sort of get to grips with the concept of what is a stem. And you know, this one has gone to seed here, but I'm not going to take that off. It's added interest. Sorry, the dog was eating something and I was just checking that it was something he was allowed. Ooh. Right, there we are. It's much easier to actually, and usually when I cut into which bucket is which order. So usually I wouldn't have to be picking here. I would know that I had exactly the right flowers in the bucket. But because this morning didn't quite go to plan, I just cut a load of random flowers, threw them into buckets, and now I'm counting and making up as I go along. Normally, once it's in the bucket, I know what the bouquet will be. So this is my classic, and they're always a bit more front facing. I mean, it still has interest all the way around, but I always think if people put them on a sideboard or something, that they always look a bit more interesting at the front. Right, let's tie that one. And then I need to cut flowers again in the morning for tomorrow's orders, which will probably be very similar yellows and oranges again. The next order I'm doing, I seem to remember, I think it's for newborn baby. So I always think it's good to steer clear of blues and pinks for those things anyway. So I think the colours I'll have will be fine for that. Right, I'll find a bucket to pop that in. And obviously when it's wrapped it will look different to how it looks there, but I think that's all right. Right, bucket of water. Okay, now have I got enough stems here? Hopefully. Oh, I didn't even know those little zinnias were there. Yeah, probably. I probably have. Okay, so that was a classic. Now we're on a posy, which I just call it a classic posy in a bouquet, just to give it an idea, rather than calling it small, medium and large, I suppose. Just sounds a bit more interesting. Okay, so on the dill, I just want to take off all these young shoots that have drooped, and they've just drooped because there are lots of flowers you want to cut when they're at the bud stage. And then other things like Achillea is an example, you need them to, and feverfew, that's another example, you need them to be fully open. Right, so got a bit more in the way of filler here. So we've got some dill, some mint. This is going to be very fragrant. What do I do with the other stem of mint? Oh, maybe I only cut one stem. Some Dorcas. Well, this one's going to be very fillery compared to the other one. How am I making this? I need to make it round, really. Oh, that's another bendy one. Oh, let's snap them. Oh. No. No. Right. Okay, so basically the size increments I go up in are that I have my first size, and then my second size is twice as many stems, and then my third size is 3 times the first size. So it's always really easy for me to know what I'm doing. So that is the posy.